Welcome to Living on the Ocean. Building a carbon fiber rudder hinge for Trimaran Dawn after we extended her stern on the sandbank.
It's gonna be this pipe that we're gonna build into the boat now, which is gonna fit here into the rudder base. Yeah? And that has an axle in it. It will give the effect of this spinning. And that's gonna be the hinge. There's a little bit of space here because we're gonna have two stainless steel big washers there to give it a bit of fair play so it doesn't wear out on those edges.
This pipe needs to be built here into the boat and be attached to this bulkhead that we need to make. With a pencil on a piece of foam I can easily draw the line of the hole and cut it into shape with a Stanley knife. We need to cut a hole in here so that the pipe can be connected to the bulkhead. And for precise cutting, a multi-tool is a great tool. You can cut perfectly over the lines and it doesn't make more dust than necessary. It's a very easy way to make a rectangle hole in epoxy sandwich. And with the pipe temporarily stuck to the bulkhead, we check out if it fits. Yep, now we can cut the top of the bulkhead into shape. With a spirit level I can make a horizontal line on this board. But then I have to make a correction for the 20 centimeters that this boat is still gonna tip backwards, which is gonna be about 1 centimeter every meter. That's the bulkhead. Now the most tricky part. In which angle does this pipe need to be connected to this bulkhead? And to get that correct, we first need to make the bulkhead strong enough. We're gonna laminate 350 gram glass fiber on each side of this foam panel.
So I need something that is above this wide. Now there is a guy called Marto, with which I worked 30 years ago. And he taught me this. He said, Arie, why don't we pull out a strip out of here? One string, very strong. Yeah? You cut your fingers if you try it. But if you take a strip out, you make sure that you cut very nicely. So this fiber is only strong in the direction of the string. So that way it can pull, and that way, and that way. That means it will stretch in those directions. Yeah? It will stretch. That's not how it can handle force. So you need to know how you lay them on. Then you get glass fiber that has most of the fibers in that one direction. I like it when things are straight. So even for this little cut, pull one out, you have a straight cut. I don't like those things in my rollers later, so they go away. Now I have 2 layers of fiber that will fit on here. That's 1, that's 2. Now I need to get rid of this glass fiber roll. Put glass on both sides. When it's laying like this, it's gonna be like that. So it has to be done on a straight table.
Let's start laminating, preparing the area to work on with some plastic.
That will roll that.
My gloves on.
I have epoxy, resin, hardener, a bucket and a very good weighing machine that's now on 0. A tiny bit here of 40, and then I'm gonna add, actually it's 47. So when I need 67 plus 3 is exactly 70. More epoxy hardener in epoxy does not make it go faster. It just makes a weaker mixture. In that epoxy, I'm going to put a tiny bit of Cap-o-Sil. And Cap-o-Sil makes a very good glue. It will thicken my epoxy up till about yogurt, because you want something to anchor your epoxy to the foam. You can try to mix it faster, you just let the Cap-o-Sil go into the air. I have a roller, I have epoxy. Bit thicker stuff is disappearing in all those holes. This is what makes sure that your laminate is not gonna delaminate from your foam. This gives it a very good connection. This is what not many people know or do. So here's a very good, I would say, professional trick. I've decided to share what I've built up on information over the last 30 years. What works, what didn't work, what went wrong. I'm gonna share it with you guys and I hope you enjoy it. That's why I have the plastic here, you see it, that's where I put my stuff. I already put resin on there, thicker stuff. I make this quite wet now. Since there's another one coming on top, it's not such a big problem to put on a bit more, since it will go in the other one. And then the other one will be more gentle. Here's the other one. What I'm gonna do now, because I want to do the other side and I don't want this to come off, I'm gonna get this piece of plastic on top. Tomorrow I will have to sand this, but that's no problem. It will be nice and strong. Start putting the carbon on it. This doesn't create any problem. That can be rolled over. Now I have my other side. What you see me doing here is making a very low-tech way of doing it. There's a vacuum pump standing behind me. We done vacuum bagging, vacuum infusing. We done even RTM, which is resin transmolding, and made very high quality parts, very precise with the exact amount of material in it. And that's a lot of fun to do, but it takes a lot of preparation. It's interesting in processes where you make more things. It's not interesting in processes like this, where you just actually only want one. I think this is the way I would advise you to go. Do not forget to put this first layer of yogurt stick epoxy with Cap-o-Sil on your material. What you basically want to do with epoxy is making sure every molecule finds the opposite molecule. It's been explained to me that epoxy molecules have lots of little arms in the A and in the B, and they all need to make connections. That's why putting more of one of the other ones in doesn't help, because they don't have more arms to do the job. It's good mixing that's important, and precise measuring. Why does it work with polyester? Polyester works with a catalyst. If one of the molecules starts to go off, it will inspire the other one next to it to go off. That's not the case with epoxy. That's why if you put in a bit more catalyst, you get more molecules to start at the same time. With polyester, that's why it goes fast, or too fast, and it starts to smoke and destroys your product. There we go. First one of the other one is done. And the famous one with the drawing. Now, how many layers you need to put on? Somewhere in this series I will do a little bit of the calculations for you, for those that like it. Roughly, most important is get the fibers in the right direction, so you know in which directions it can handle the forces. Every square mil of this fiber in thickness in that direction has a breaking strength of over 200 kilos per square mil. That's quite a lot if you think that strong steel only is about 75. Which really helps that they tell you that every layer I lay on here is 350 grams. And glass weighs about 270, I would say, out of my head. Maybe I'm wrong, please check me on that. 2,700 kilos per cubic meter. So you can just work out how many mil is laying there if that's only 350 grams. It doesn't do any better to say, oh, let's put this all on there. I have some left. No, when it's done, it's done. Job done, roller off, dirty gloves off.
And the next day when it's cured and it's hard, just take a Stanley knife and cut off this extending bits of glass. Much better than cutting it beforehand and make a mess of your laminating. If you do it a bit earlier, then it's much softer than it is already now. I actually waited a bit too long. And the side where the plastic was has worked out perfect as well. So in a very little time this is all cleaned up. But be careful, those little bits are very sharp. Throw them away, job done. Let's see how it fits. This bulkhead has become quite nice and strong, even when it's only the glass fiber. We will cover it with carbon in the next episode, but first we need to know if it fits. Now comes the job of lining it all out and getting this pipe stuck behind it in the perfect angle. And that's going to be quite tricky, because it's not only that it has to line out with the housing of the rudder, it has to line out with how the rudder blade is going to be in the water. In the next episode we will line this all out and fill the gap between the pipe and the bulkhead with filler. We'll put carbon fiber on the bulkhead and carbon fiber on the boat to make everything strong enough. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Feel free to comment in the comments below or respond on our website livingontheocean.com.